the truth about money and power. In a world that never stops chasing wealth, Christine Wong's Get the Money cuts through the noise like a lightning bolt. This isn't a book about luck or magic. It's about power, clarity, and control. Wong exposes how most people live in financial fog, thinking hard work alone will bring success, while the rich quietly play a different game. This book doesn't just teach you to make money, it teaches you to master it. Every chapter tears down myths, builds new money habits, and shows you how to transform your mindset from "I need money" to "money works for me." It's not about greed, it's about freedom. True wealth isn't about having more, it's about becoming more. You'll discover the strategies, psychology, and inner shift needed to build a life of independence, influence, and unstoppable growth. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, broke, or controlled by money instead of mastering it, this is your wake-up call. Buckle up, because the game is about to change and you're about to start playing to win. Now let's dive in and unlock the secrets that separate those who wish from those who own. Chapter 1. The Currency of Confidence. Money follows patterns, not prayers. The first chapter of Get the Money is a concentrated, practical assault on the single invisible force that separates people who always worry about money from people who consistently attract it: confidence. But this is not the shallow, Instagram-ready confidence of staged photos and slogans. It's a grounded, measurable, repeatable confidence that shows up as choices and rhythms. The chapter begins with a simple diagnostic. Notice when you hedge a request, underprice your work, or avoid conversations about fees. Those little hesitations are currency drains. Confidence, in the financial sense, is the habit of making clear requests, naming value precisely, and acting on the implicit assumption that your time, skill, and presence are worth compensation. The practical core of the chapter is threefold: internal calibration, external practice, and experiential evidence. Internal calibration means auditing the origin stories of your money self-talk. Most people inherit a ledger of beliefs, voices telling them it's greedy to charge, that stability comes from a boss, or that debt is always a failure. To change behavior, you must remap those stories to data. Christine Wong suggests a 2-week experiment. Each time a self-limiting money belief surfaces, write it down, timestamp it, and note the last event that reinforced it. Within 2 weeks, you'll have a clear pattern, maybe familial scarcity, a schooling script, or a single painful loss repeated as general law. Naming the pattern removes its mystique and creates a tactical target. External practice converts insight into muscle. Start with micro-negotiations, simple, manageable asks designed to produce a quick truth, a 1-hour freelance raise, a small price correction in a side gig, negotiating shipping terms, or asking for clearer payment timing. These micro-negotiations are graded exposure. They produce nervousness, yes, but also real outcomes that either validate or falsify your fears. Each positive outcome is raw evidence that rewires the nervous system. Each negative outcome creates a learning loop rather than a sunk shame. Christine prescribes a measurable cadence, 5 micro-negotiations in 30 days, each recorded with outcome, and the internal commentary you had before and after. The third pillar, experiential evidence, builds a private dossier of proof. Create a folder, digital or physical, entitled Money Wins, and deposit every instance where you created value and received compensation: an invoice paid, a client feedback note, a referral, a bonus, or even a small saved amount that broke a pattern of impulsive spending. Over time, That dossier functions as concrete counter-evidence to old scripts and supplies the emotional ballast needed to scale your asks. The chapter also addresses the social environment because confidence is contagious and corrosive in equal measure. Surround yourself with people who model reasonable financial language. Avoid chronic victims who conflate suffering with virtue. Christine offers a short exercise for social triage. Schedule 2 conversations a week with people who are financially clear and 3 minutes of micro-coaching. Share a price you are testing and ask for blunt feedback. The chapter closes with systems for maintenance, simple rituals that keep confidence active rather than performative. A 10-minute morning ledger, 3 financial intentions for the day, 1 high-value phrase you will use in a negotiation, and a 1-line gratitude tied to money. For example, I'm grateful for the client who paid on time last week. These rituals are low friction but high yield because they prime behavior. Confidence, once proceduralized, stops being a flashy trait and becomes a steady influence on decisions. The end promise is practical. If you commit to the diagnostic, the micro-negotiations, and the dossier for 30 days, you will have reworked the first layer of how money perceives you. Money doesn't answer arguments. It responds to behavior that signals worth. Build that signal deliberately and you change the ledger of outcomes. Chapter 2. Know your numbers, then command them. Knowing your numbers is not about spreadsheets, fetishism. It's about power, options, and the capacity to choose. Chapter 2 transforms financial dashboards from abstract spreadsheets into decision engines. Christine Wong insists that the truth you can see is the truth you can change. She introduces a compact 3-line financial dashboard meant to be updated weekly: net cash position, recurring income floor, and optionality reserve. Net cash position is simple: current liquid assets minus immediate liabilities. This is not net worth in a glorified sense. It is the gas gauge. Recurring income floor is the minimum monthly amount you can reliably count on from salary, subscriptions, retainers, or predictable freelancing. The optionality reserve is the financial buffer you keep for risk and opportunity, not just emergency savings, but the capital that allows you to say yes to a strategic bet or walk away from a bad deal. Christine's methodology is pragmatic and time-efficient. Spend 15 minutes once a week to update these 3 numbers and annotate 1 change or decision derived from the update. The chapter's practical heart is a 3-step audit process: track, triangulate, and act. Tracking requires disciplined tagging of all transactions for 30 days, every coffee, subscription, small tip. The purpose is pattern recognition, not guilt. Triangulation compares the transaction patterns to your goals and values. If you say health is a priority but your spending shows fast food and no gym membership, there's a misalignment to resolve. Act is the concrete correction. Cancel subscriptions you can't defend, renegotiate a recurring bill, or reallocate 1 small monthly expense into the optionality reserve. Another essential section focuses on the psychology of visibility. Many people avoid looking at numbers because they anticipate disappointment. Christine reframes numbers as neutral signals that reduce anxiety by converting fear into facts. She recommends a weekly numbers meeting with yourself. Have a 5-minute check-in where you update the 3-line dashboard, name 1 positive trend, and identify 1 action for the week. This ritual removes the dread and replaces it with agency. The chapter also teaches how to use numbers as negotiating leverage. When you run a freelance business, for example, Understanding client lifetime value, average project margin, and billing velocity allows you to price with confidence and to decide which clients to keep and which to exit. Christine provides a template to calculate the true cost of low-paying clients by factoring in opportunity cost, how much income you forego by holding a low-margin slot that prevents you from taking higher margin work. Lastly, she addresses money conversations at home and work. Transparency with partners is graded. Begin with the 3-line dashboard and use it to co-design financial roles, who handles bills, who negotiates subscriptions, and what the optionality goals are. Chapter 3. Build your value engine. Money lands where value is obvious and easy to exchange. Chapter 3 teaches you to engineer a value engine, a repeatable system that reliably converts your skills, presence, or products into income. Christine Wong argues that the most resilient value engines are modular, measurable, and scalable. Modular means the engine splits into discrete parts that can be improved independently: audience, offer, delivery mechanism, and conversion funnel. Measurable means every part has a clear metric: audience growth, conversion rate, average order value, and retention. Scalable means the system can grow without linear increases in your time. The chapter starts with an audit you can run in an afternoon. List every way you currently create value: paid work, passive assets, favors that could be monetized, and map them to the 4 modules. Many people discover that their perceived primary income stream is actually a series of low-margin tasks buried in delivery mechanics. The next step is prioritization. Choose one module to optimize first. For most knowledge workers, the low-hanging fruit is the offer. Clarify what you sell and who you sell it to. Christine prescribes a tight writing exercise. In 1 page, answer who is the ideal customer, what problem you solve, and the simplest, clearest guarantee you can offer. This clarity increases conversion because people buy when they understand the problem-solution link in one coherent breath. Delivery mechanism is the next focus. How you get the value to people. Is it one-to-one coaching, a digital product, a subscription, or an affiliate distribution? Convert bespoke services into packaged offers where possible. Packaging increases scalability. For example, replace 3 hours of ad hoc consulting with a 2-hour workshop and a follow-up template. The chapter then tackles the conversion funnel, how prospects become paying customers. Christine offers a minimal funnel blueprint, free entry offer, email capture, a micro-value deliverable, a short guide or template, and a low-risk first purchase. Each step has a conversion target, test, and measure. She emphasizes small, rapid experiments. Swap one element of the funnel every 2 weeks and measure lift. The chapter also pays deep attention to pricing psychology. Price anchors, payment plans, and guarantees reduce friction. Christine recommends a simple experiment for pricing. Test 3 price points for a month each and track conversion and referral rates. Sometimes higher prices produce better conversion because they shift perceived value and attract different customer segments. Finally, retention is the secret multiplier. Turning one-time buyers into repeat purchasers is cheaper and more predictable than constantly acquiring new customers. Design retention triggers, monthly check-ins, content that educates, or loyalty discounts, so your value engine compounds. By the end of the chapter, you will have a 1-page value engine map with 4 modules, 1 prioritized experiment, and a simple metric hub to update weekly. Build the engine, then feed it consistently. Engines, not heroes, produce lasting money. Chapter 4. Pricing with Purpose. The psychology and math of value. Pricing is a behavioral lever that translates perception into payment. It is not merely a math problem nor merely ego. This chapter opens by reframing pricing as a communication act. The number you choose tells a story about value, audience, and promise. Christine Wong argues that price should be set with both psychological framing and unit economics in mind. The chapter begins with a quick diagnostics. List your 3 most common offers, then write down the story each current price is telling. Are you signaling entry-level commodity, high-touch boutique, or enterprise solution? That signal determines who shows up. Next, the chapter lays out the back-of-envelope economics you must know: your direct time cost per transaction, a fair allocation of overhead, the desired margin, and the implied acquisition cost that makes the price viable. This simple 4-line calculation prevents underpricing by accident. After the math, Wong dives into psychological levers. Anchoring, present a high-priced option first so the second seems reasonable. Decoy pricing, introduce a middle option that makes the highest one feel like a better value. And framing, present monthly payments, outcomes, or comparisons rather than raw dollars. She gives concrete scripts. Most clients start at X because it delivers Y in Z weeks, and we offer a risk reduction guarantee. If X doesn't change by month 1, we'll do Y. Guarantees shift risk perception and raise conversion. The chapter then explores experiments. Test 3 price points for short windows and measure both conversion and referral rate. Often a modest price increase reduces sales volume slightly, but increases revenue and client quality, which compounds through better word of mouth and less churn. Christine also addresses discounting. If you discount, do it transparently as a time-limited pilot or in exchange for case study participation, so lowered price equals strategic value rather than desperation. The chapter closes with tiering and upsell design. Create a clear ascent path from entry product to core offer to premium service with distinct value at each stage. Each tier should have a single metric that justifies upgrade, faster results, exclusive support, or additional deliverables. Finally, she emphasizes a pricing ritual. Once a quarter, review pricing decisions with 3 data points: margin, time per client, and lifetime client value, and adjust at most one element to preserve clarity and prevent oscillation. Pricing with purpose is not a one-time decision, but an ongoing conversation between what you deliver and what the market says it will pay. Treat it as your communication of worth and refine it with both courage and curiosity. Chapter 5: Cash Flow. Mastery. Systems to keep the lights on and the engine running. Cash flow kills more creative businesses than lack of vision. The ability to predict and control liquidity is a core entrepreneurial survival skill. This chapter gives a playbook for creating reliable cash flow systems that are automated, predictive, and forgiving. Christine starts with the cash flow calendar. Map all expected inflows and outflows for the next 90 days with line items for payment terms, subscription charges, payroll, and seasonality. This visibility converts anxiety into planning. Next, implement simple buffer rules. Maintain a rolling 4-week operating reserve that is replenished by prioritizing incoming payments and smoothing out payment scheduling. Then she walks through the invoicing discipline. Shorten invoice language to remove friction, include a clear due date, offer frictionless payment options, cards, ACH, one-click links, and follow a polite automated reminder sequence tied to escalation. Friendly note at day 5 late, standardized follow-up at day 10, and a one-call human touch at day 15. Christine provides email templates and scripts that preserve relationships while increasing on-time payment. The chapter then covers recurring revenue design, transitioning one-time transactions into predictable subscriptions or retainer models where possible, because predictability compounds value and reduces cash stress. For productized services, set up monthly billing and set expectations clearly about churn and renewal. On the expense side, Wong prescribes vendor triage, classifies suppliers by strategic importance, and renegotiate terms for non-critical suppliers to obtain 30 to 60-day payment windows. Use early pay discounts only when margin supports the trade. She also suggests integrating a short weekly finance meeting into the operation. 15 minutes to update the cash flow calendar, flag upcoming shortfalls, and decide one mitigation action: delay non-critical spend, accelerate receivable collections, or leverage a short credit line temporarily. The chapter discusses short-term financing with caution. Maintain a relationship with a single, flexible financial partner, bank, credit union, or invoice financing service, so you have an optionality line rather than multiple high-fee stopgaps. Christine emphasizes that borrowing is a tool to smooth, not fund, permanent consumption. Chapter 6. Negotiation for Creatives: Asking, Adjusting, and Closing with Grace. Negotiation is a muscle that can be trained. In creative and service businesses, it is often the difference between survival-level pricing and comfortable margins. Christine reframes negotiation as relationship architecture rather than combative sport. The chapter begins with a simple checklist to prepare. Know your minimum acceptable terms. Walkaway price. Identify the counterpart's pressures, deadlines, budgets, alternative vendors, and list 3 potential concessions you are willing to make that cost little but provide perceived value. Preparation builds confidence and reduces reactive concessions. Wong introduces tactical prompts that work across contexts. The calibrated question: if we could achieve X, what budget would make this a priority for you? The conditional close: I can include Y if you can commit to Z timeline. And the silent pause: give space after a proposal to invite better offers. She also teaches the power of bundling and unbundling. Present multiple package levels and let the client choose at their comfort point. Later, unbundle add-ons as revenue opportunities. The chapter includes real scripts for scope creep management. I can do this change. That addition is outside current scope. Here's the estimated time and the cost to include it. Clear language prevents resentment and maintains profitability. Christine also tackles the emotional barrier. Many creatives fear that negotiating will hurt relationships. Chapter 7. Investing in yourself. Education, mentorship, and compounding skill. Equity. Your most durable asset is the skill set you control. What Christine calls skill equity. Unlike financial assets, skill equity compounds while you sleep, because each increment of learning increases productivity, pricing power, and career optionality. This chapter details how to invest in yourself with intention. Focus on returns, not consumption. Begin with a skills audit. List the top 3 skills that, if improved, would most increase income or time leverage within 12 months. Prioritize skills that are adjacent to monetizable outcomes, selling, product design, systems automation, rather than general curiosity projects unless funded as R&D with clear hypotheses. Wong then prescribes learning pathways that combine high-quality input, deliberate practice, and application. Choose one authoritative course or mentor, commit to a 90-day practice schedule that applies learning directly to a live project, and document outcomes weekly. Mentorship is emphasized as catalytic. Pay for access when possible because targeted feedback accelerates learning compared to free but unfocused content. The chapter also covers micro-credentialing, short, project-based certifications that signal ability to potential clients and allow price increases. Another section focuses on time investments. Allocate at least 3 hours a week of deep learning time in protected blocks and pair learning with teaching, writing short summaries or running micro workshops, which consolidates knowledge and builds reputation. Christine warns against knowledge accumulation without application, the library trap where people consume endlessly and act rarely. The final part explores strategic diversification. Rotate skills every year in a 70-20-10 ratio. 70% mastery of core skills, 20% adjacent skills, and 10% experimental. This portfolio approach balances depth with adaptability. Investing in yourself is not indulgence. It's a financial decision with predictable ROI when structured as applied, measured learning. Chapter 8. Tax, legal, and structural moves that preserve wealth. Many creators and small business owners overlook structural planning until it's too late. This chapter provides an accessible roadmap to practical legal and tax moves that protect profits and preserve optionality without requiring a law degree. Christine starts with entity basics, sole proprietorship versus LLC versus corporation, what each structure means for liability, admin burden, and tax flexibility. She recommends an LLC or similar pass-through structure for most service businesses because it separates personal liability and simplifies tax treatment, but counsels to consult local counsel for specifics. Next, the chapter introduces tax hygiene, track deductible expenses, set aside a percentage of revenue for taxes each month, and use quarterly estimated payments to avoid surprises. Christine provides a simple formula: set aside X% of income, varies by jurisdiction, into a tax reserve account and automate transfers. She then outlines common legal safeguards, clear written contracts with payment terms, IP ownership clauses, and scope definitions, basic NDAs for pilots, and standardized consulting agreements. Templates are recommended but customized with counsel for high-stakes deals. The chapter also highlights retirement and insurance planning as risk control mechanisms. SEP IRAs, or small business retirement plans, reduce taxable income and create long-term security. Insurance topics include professional liability, cyber liability, and business interruption coverage scaled to revenue and exposure. A crucial section addresses international work. For creators serving global clients, understand VAT/GST implications, withholding taxes, and the need for contracts that specify governing law and dispute resolution mechanism. Finally, Christine prescribes an annual legal and tax review. Sit with your advisor for a 90-minute review to document changes, optimize structures, and set short-term compliance actions. Structural moves are not glamorous, but they convert income into lasting financial assets by reducing leakage, protecting upside, and preserving peace of mind. Chapter 9. Marketing that converts. From audience to customers. Without shame, marketing is often framed as manipulation, but Christine reframes it as honest messaging that connects people who need your solution to your capacity to deliver it. This chapter provides a conversion-focused marketing playbook for creators and small service businesses. Start with message clarity. Craft a one-sentence value proposition that identifies the who, the problem, and the tangible benefit. Use this sentence across profiles, pitches, and lead magnets to create a consistent funnel. Next, identify 2 distribution channels where your ideal clients congregate: LinkedIn, niche forums, podcasts, or local meetups, and allocate effort to dominate those channels with quality signals, short case studies, free micro-resources, and testimonial highlights. Christine recommends content with immediate utility, checklists, before/after examples, and templates, because utility builds trust faster than generic inspiration. The chapter also covers lead capture and nurture. Create a low-friction lead magnet tied to your core offer. Then design a 3-email nurture sequence that provides value, shares social proof, and invites a small commitment. For traffic, Christine favors targeted paid experiments with strict ROI thresholds. Spend to acquire a customer at less than X% of lifetime value for the channel to be viable. Organic growth tactics include partnerships, guest contributions, and speaking at relevant events. Use each appearance to collect leads, not applause. Finally, conversion optimization is a measurement habit. Test 1 change to your landing page or pitch per week: headline, price presentation, testimonial placement. And track conversion lift. Marketing that converts focuses on utility, clarity, and ethical persuasion. When you design honest funnels, you turn audiences into customers without the shame that often accompanies sales. Chapter 10. Scaling with Systems. From solo hustle to sustainable business. Scaling requires formalizing what works into repeatable systems that others can execute. Christine begins by diagnosing the most common scaling mistakes: attempting to hire before product market fit, failing to document core processes, and delegating without feedback loops. She prescribes a systems-first checklist: map 3 core processes that generate revenue, document each step in a simple checklist format, and identify the smallest task within each process that can be delegated first. This smallest delegatable task approach creates early wins and reduces training friction. Next, implement lightweight operations. Choose 3 tools: project management, CRM, accounting, and standardize their use to avoid tool sprawl. Christine advises hiring generalists first, people with learning agility who can cover multiple small roles, rather than specialists, until revenue predictably supports niche functions. She emphasizes measurement. Define 1 leading indicator per role, e.g., pipeline growth for sales, turnaround time for delivery, and institute short weekly reviews to surface problems early. The chapter also covers quality control through spot audits and feedback loops. Initial delegation should include paired work sessions where the founder and new hire work together until quality stabilizes. For financial scaling, set rules for reinvestment: what % of profit goes to hiring, product development, marketing, and optionality reserve, and update quarterly. Christine stresses culture alignment. Even small teams need a few rituals and clear norms: a weekly sprint meeting, a public wins board, and a feedback ritual to keep coherence. Finally, she advises building exit mechanisms into systems. Document how to pause hiring, what metrics trigger a product pivot, and the emergency plan if cash gets tight. Chapter 11. Scaling revenue streams without burning out. Scaling revenue is not the same as working harder. It's the art of designing extra income that requires less of your fixed attention. Too many creators and entrepreneurs mistake busyness for scale. They add clients, spend evenings on frantic delivery, and confuse higher invoices with sustainable growth. This chapter gives a practical architecture to scale revenue sustainably. Diversify revenue types, productize services, automate delivery, and protect your time with strict capacity rules. Start with the revenue taxonomy. List your current income sources and classify each as one-time, recurring, or leveraged. One-time payments are volatile and expensive to maintain. Recurring income provides predictability and optionality. Leveraged income, digital products, licensing, courses, decouples time from money. Your goal is to shift the balance toward recurring and leveraged income while preserving high-margin, high-touch offerings where they matter most. The second move is productization. Take bespoke work streams and map them into repeatable packages. Identify the common deliverables, define fixed scopes, and build templates for delivery so you reduce preparation time by design. For example, convert a bespoke consulting engagement into a 3-tiered offering: a DIY toolkit, a guided group program, and a premium done-for-you service. Each tier captures a customer at a different willingness to pay and reduces the need for constant customization. Third, automate administrative friction, invoice generation, client onboarding, contract signatures, scheduling, and recurring billing should be automated. Use simple stacks, payment links, automated contracts, calendar booking tools, and onboarding checklists so that the moment a client says yes, the system flows without you. Chapter 12, Passive Income. That actually works. Design, test, iterate. Passive income gets glamour. It rarely gets discipline. Passive does not mean never work again. It means work now to create ongoing value later. This chapter provides a rigorous, test-first approach to passive income so you don't launch products that never sell and platforms that never convert. Begin with the passive product pyramid: entry-level lead magnet, low-priced front-end product, core digital product, and high-value continuity offer. Each layer feeds the next. The entry piece earns attention, the front end converts, the core delivers the primary value, the continuity offer captures ongoing revenue. Design your funnel intentionally, a simple, free asset that solves a specific pain, followed by a $7 to $47 offer that provides rapid, tangible benefit, then a course or toolkit at mid-ticket, and finally, a subscription or membership for retention. The second principle is validation before creation. Don't build a full course without pre-selling a pilot or running a paid test ad to a landing page. Use small bets. Run a targeted one-week ad to a waitlist page, measure sign-up conversion, and then invite pre-sales. If pre-sales meet your minimal economics, build the product. Third, optimize for margin. Choose delivery formats with low ongoing cost, digital downloads, evergreen videos, templates, or automation, rather than labor-heavy content. Leverage licensing, affiliate partnerships, and reseller agreements to amplify reach without proportional effort. Fourth, invest in evergreen content with refresh windows. Design your product so that core content remains relevant for a defined period, and schedule quarterly touch-ups rather than constant rebuilds. Fifth, automate marketing touchpoints, email sequences, onboarding flows, and renewal reminders should require maintenance only when metrics decline. Sixth, manage churn proactively, deliver immediate value, create habit loops, weekly check-ins, micro-assignments, and provide community features to increase stickiness. Seventh, diversify distribution. Don't depend on a single platform or ad channel. Combine organic content, paid acquisition, partnerships, and affiliate networks so your revenue lattice is robust to channel changes. Eighth, price for survivability. Begin with modest prices to validate demand, then test elevation strategies that add value rather than simply raise costs. Ninth, protect intellectual property and licensing terms. Build clear terms for reuse, resale, and white label options to create secondary revenue streams. 10th, measure passivity honestly. Track the time required for maintenance versus revenue generated. Aim to reduce maintenance burden over time while expanding revenue. Passive income is a portfolio exercise. It compounds if you build defensible products, validate demand early, and automate distribution. Work once, sell many times. The payoff is real when you treat passive as a discipline, not a fantasy. Chapter 13. Real assets, alternatives, and the modern portfolio for creators. Not all assets are created equal for people whose primary wealth is skill-based. This chapter maps asset classes that creators and small business operators can access: real estate, dividend equities, small businesses, royalties, and digital IP, and explains how to blend them into a practical portfolio that balances growth, income, and optionality. Start by assessing liquidity needs and risk tolerance. Creators often need higher liquidity for creative runs, so structure a mix with a liquid core, cash, short-term bonds, a growth sleeve, equities, funds, and an alternative sleeve, real estate, royalties, small private stakes. Real estate is powerful for creators when used as an income or arbitrage play. Short-term rentals, co-working spaces tied to community brands, or small multi-family units can provide monthly cash flows and tax advantages. Christine's practical checklist for small-scale real estate: evaluate cap rate, vacancy rates, management burden, and financing terms. Prefer conservative leverage and always model stress scenarios. For equities and funds, favor low-cost index exposure for the growth sleeve and dividend or income-focused funds for the income sleeve. Dollar-cost average to avoid timing risks. Alternative assets include buying small stakes in other creators' businesses, licensing your IP for passive royalties, or acquiring revenue share contracts. These are higher friction but can produce asymmetric returns and strengthen your network. Another modern option is content IP, ebooks, courses, templates, and media that acts like an owned asset paying royalties. Treat IP like property, register rights, maintain clear licensing, and consider bundling for sale. Diversification principles are simple. Avoid overconcentration in your own time-for-money services. Aim for at least 2 non-labor-dependent income sources within 3 years. Tax and liability considerations matter. Use appropriate legal entities for asset holding and consult advisors on depreciation, deductible expenses, and estate planning. Finally, maintain a rebalancing discipline. Review your portfolio annually and shift capital from overperforming to underweight areas that match your long-term objectives. Real assets can stabilize a creator's life cycle, reducing the feast or famine swings and converting creative skill into durable wealth. Chapter 14. Reputation as currency, building authority without selling out. Your public reputation is a business asset. This chapter explains how to build authority strategically, so your reputation multiplies opportunities rather than burnishing vanity. Begin with the reputation audit. List 3 reputational strengths and 3 vulnerabilities. Strengths might be clarity of voice, niche expertise, or a track record of delivery. Vulnerabilities might be inconsistent output, lack of testimonials, or public missteps. Repair vulnerabilities through evidence, case studies, client outcomes, documented processes, and amplify strengths with consistent content that demonstrates practical value. Focus on signal content that teaches and transfers skill rather than endless personal branding. Use medium-dependent strategies. Long-form thought leadership on platforms like Substack or Medium to win depth, short, actionable clips on social platforms for reach, and podcasts or guest appearances for third-party credibility. Christine recommends a 30-day authority sprint. Publish 5 pieces of high-value content, secure 2 interviews or guest posts, and gather 3 new testimonials or case studies. Authority compounds when tied to service delivery. Never separate reputation building from doing the work. Also, manage public conflicts carefully. When criticized, respond with facts and humility. Avoid defensive rants. Reputation grows faster with generosity. Mentor publicly. Share templates and highlight collaborators. Finally, protect reputation as an asset. Document your public commitments, prepare crisis scripts, and have a trusted advisor to review high-visibility moves. Reputation is not an abstract goal. It's a currency you spend when pitching, partnering, or pricing. Guard it, grow it with discipline, and let it convert into business on your terms. Chapter 15. Client systems that scale, onboarding, deliverables, and renewal. Happy clients are repeat clients and promoters. This chapter presents a systems-first approach to client management that reduces friction, increases perceived value, and boosts retention. Start with onboarding rituals, a crisp welcome package, a kick-off call with a clear agenda, documented deliverables and timelines, and an onboarding checklist clients can view. Early clarity reduces anxiety and scope creep. Next, adopt milestone-based delivery with visible checkpoints, small, early wins that demonstrate progress and maintain momentum. Use shared project boards so clients can see progress and contribute feedback at planned intervals rather than interrupting with ad hoc requests. For communication, set norms, scheduled updates only, one channel for feedback, and defined response windows. Christine prescribes a 3-touch delivery model: initial deliverable within week 1, a mid-project refinement in week 3, and a final optimization 1 week before deadline. This cadence increases satisfaction and reduces last-minute panic. For billing, align invoicing milestones with deliverables and use auto-pay or retainers to improve cash flow predictability. For renewals, design a renewal ritual 2 months before contract end, present outcomes to date, a proposed next phase scope, and an early bird incentive for committing. Finally, gather structured testimonials at the project's close and convert satisfied clients into referral partners via explicit referral programs. Systems make client relationships less personal drama and more durable partnerships. Document them, automate them, and iterate based on feedback loops. Chapter 16. Protecting your time. Boundaries, rituals, and energy. Management time is non-renewable. Money can be made back. This chapter gives a clinical approach to protecting your attention so you can create more value with less stress. Start with a boundary audit. Where does your time leak? Email, meetings, social media, or low-value client work? For each leak, design a 1-step fix: 2-check email policy per day, 25-minute focused work sprints, and strict meeting agendas with 1 decision per meeting. Implement a calendar armor strategy, Block sacred creative hours and mark them as non-bookable. Use a meeting triage rule. Default decline for meetings under the premise or without an agenda. Chapter 17. Giving back and building influence. Philanthropy. As strategy, wealth without contribution feels thin. Strategic giving expands influence, builds networks, and creates legacy. This chapter reframes philanthropy as a business practice with reciprocal benefits. Careful giving can open doors, build reputation, and create ecosystems that sustain your work. Start with purpose alignment. Choose causes that connect to your brand and community, so your giving is authentic and strategic. Define giving vehicles, donations, pro bono services, scholarships, or partnerships, and measure impact not only with dollars, but with relationships created, visibility gained, and opportunities unlocked. Consider constrained giving. Sponsor one community event per quarter. Offer one pro bono engagement per year to high-potential people. Or create a micro-grant for creators in your niche. Use philanthropy as a bridge to collaboration. Invite grantees or beneficiaries to co-create content, pilot projects, or community resources. Track outcomes rigorously and report publicly. Transparency strengthens trust and models responsibility. Finally, build a giving ritual, monthly or annual commitments that are visible and repeatable, and use giving to mentor the next layer of leaders. Strategic generosity returns social capital and enriches the ecosystem where your business lives. Chapter 18. Legacy Planning. From wealth to influence to inheritance. Legacy is more than a will. It's the architecture that lets your values and assets persist. This chapter moves beyond immediate tactics to plan how your wealth and influence survive transitions. Start with legal basics, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and estate planning aligned to your jurisdiction. Next, design human continuity, mentorship pipelines, written processes, and stewardship roles so your work does not depend on a single person. Financially, build vehicles that preserve optionality, family trusts, donor-advised funds, or small endowments that fund mission-aligned projects. Teach financial literacy to heirs and key team members through structured programs, regular family or team reviews, small responsibility assignments, and co-stewardship rituals. Document values and decisions, record rationales for key choices, so successors inherit context, not only assets. Consider philanthropic legacy. What institutions or funds will carry your name and values forward? Finally, revisit legacy plans regularly. Life changes and laws shift. Legacy planning is both practical and ethical. Create arrangements that protect beneficiaries, maintain mission fidelity, and leave space for future stewardship. Done well, legacy planning turns transient success into enduring contribution. Chapter 19. Exit Strategy and Liquidity. Turning what you built into options. Exiting is not a failure. It's a strategic move that converts effort into optionality, freedom, and capital to play again on larger fields. Too many entrepreneurs and creators treat exit as a mythical endgame sold in startup fairy tales. Christine Wong reframes exit planning as an operational discipline you design from day one. When you build with an exit in mind, every decision, contracts, customer concentration, legal structure, revenue mix, and data hygiene creates or destroys future value. The chapter opens by defining the three most common exit objectives for small business creators and solopreneurs: liquidity for personal freedom, capital for new ventures, and institutionalization, turning the work into a transferable enterprise that can outlast its founders. Each objective requires different architecture, so clarity on end goals shapes present choices. The practical centerpiece of the chapter is a 4-part exit playbook you can start executing today. Maximize predictability, reduce single-point risk, document ruthlessly, and package for transfer. Maximize predictability by shifting revenue composition toward recurring and contracted income. Buyers and investors, whether a strategic acquirer, a private investor, or a partner, value streams they can forecast. Recurring revenue reduces the due diligence drag and increases valuation multiples. Part of predictability is margin stability, standardized deliverables, so gross margins are consistent and defensible. Reducing single-point risk is critical. The single biggest destroyer of exit value is dependence on one client, one channel, or one founder. Christine advises creating redundancy in customer base, cross-training at least 2 people on key client relationships, and diversifying acquisition channels so the business does not vanish if one platform changes policy. Documentation is the silent multiplier. Create a transfer dossier that contains process checklists, customer onboarding scripts, performance data, key contracts, supplier contacts, tech architecture diagrams, and a plain language owner's manual. This dossier reduces transition friction and communicates confidence. Packaging for transfer means thinking cosmetically and legally. Tidy financials, clean contracts with assignable rights, clarity on IP ownership, and a reasonable seller narrative that highlights growth levers a new owner can pull. Pricing a business is as much art as science. Christine provides a practical approach to valuation for creators, focus on a multiple of recurring revenue, adjusted for growth rate, gross margin, and defensibility. She warns against emotional pricing, founders expecting valuations based on sweat rather than cash flows, and recommends engaging a broker or advisor early to calibrate expectations. The chapter also tackles timing and the psychological readiness to exit. Many creators delay because of identity fusion with their work. Wong gives a reflective exercise. Imagine life post-exit for 3 years. How will you spend time? Where will capital be allocated? And what non-financial outcomes matter? Clarity here avoids regret and makes negotiation choices cleaner. Legal and tax planning for exit comes next. Structure your entity to minimize tax friction, consult counsel about capital gains strategies, and use escrow planning to allocate risk fairly between buyer and seller. Christine lays out escrow norms, small percentage held to cover indemnity claims for a defined period, and recommends insurance mechanisms for known operational risks to avoid post-sale litigation that eats the proceeds. Negotiation tactics are practical. Always own the narrative, present clean metrics, and prepare to walk if offers hinge on unverifiable claims. Use staged processes with clear timelines and confidentiality protocols. A final and often missed component is the transition plan for people and customers. Design what success looks like for the buyer in the first 90 days, including communication scripts, training schedules, and expected handover metrics. A smooth transition accelerates payment and preserves goodwill. Chapter 20, Wealth as Autonomy, Designing a Life Beyond Money. Wealth's highest yield is not objects or status, it is autonomy, the freedom to choose how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you create without financial coercion. In this final substantive chapter, Christine Wong moves from transaction systems to human design. how to make money deliver the life you want rather than a new set of constraints. Autonomy begins with clarity on values. Identify the few non-negotiable life elements: family time, creative practice, travel, civic engagement that, if funded, make life meaningful. The financial work becomes designing capacity for those elements rather than accumulating abstract wealth for its own sake. The chapter presents a 5-layer autonomy framework: baseline security, opportunity capital, time sovereignty, relational bandwidth, and legacy capacity. Baseline security is the first duty: stable cash reserves, reliable insurance, and predictable recurring income that remove panic from daily decisions. Opportunity capital is the pool you keep for optionality, strategic bets, small acquisitions, or sabbaticals. Time sovereignty is the fraction of your week you control. Christine recommends aiming for at least 1 full day per week that is unscheduled, non-work focused, protected for experimentation, family, or rest. Relational bandwidth describes the energy available for meaningful relationships. Wealth without connection is hollow, so you must budget both time and resources for people who matter. Legacy capacity is the long view, structures you design so your values, not just assets, persist. Each layer requires distinct financial and behavioral practices. Practical heart of the chapter is a life design cascade. Define values, convert values into time and money requirements, engineer income and systems to meet those requirements, and audit quarterly to ensure alignment. Wong gives a sample exercise. Pick one value, for example, curiosity, estimate the annual budget and weekly time required to honor it. Books, courses, museum visits, 2 hours weekly. Then commit 1% of revenue and 1 morning block per week to sustain it. The chapter digs into the behavioral economics of autonomy, default choices and commitment devices that prevent slide back into busyness for busyness' sake. Create automatic transfers to your opportunity capital, calendar armor for time sovereignty, and default social norms with loved ones that preserve relational bandwidth. Conclusion: from tactics to a life by you choose. The journey of Get the Money is not a checklist of tricks. It's a map that connects inner clarity to external systems. Christine Wong's thesis is straightforward and humane. Money is an amplifier of who you are. If you build structure around values, create predictable systems, and invest in people as well as assets, money becomes a vehicle for freedom, not a shackle.